In 1995, I was working for a very large auto finance unit here in the United States, and we did open-end commercial leases, we did closed-end consumer leases, and of course, we also did the usual loans, installment loans, balloon notes, things like that. So as a result of this, I was invited to a Ford preview event in late 90, I guess it was summer 1995. And they were showing off the new 1996 lineup. Nothing unusual about this. The manufacturers, they would do this for a lot of the big finance units, and particularly for the lessors, because the lessors would have to look at what they were showing us, and decide, where to start the residual values at. So anyway, so I go to this event, and there's lots of other people there, and they show us the second generation 1996 Ford Taurus. And it was really quite a step up, mechanically, and certainly a step up in the materials inside, the interior materials. And for the first time, they had a 24-valve V6, which was 200 horsepower, I believe. Yep, I think it was 200 horsepower. And that doesn't seem like much now, but that was pretty darn respectable in 1996. Now, just for a little historical background, Ford at that time, the Ford Taurus, was slugging it out with the Honda Accord and the Toyota Camry for the best-selling family car, the best-selling sedan in the United States. And it was neck and neck every year. I mean, the winner would be decided by sometimes 122 units or something. I mean, it was tooth and nail battle. And, when they were close, all three of those manufacturers would do whatever they had to do at the end of the model year, rebates, subsidies, lower financing, whatever, in order to win that battle. It was a bragging right. So a lot was riding on the new generation, the second generation. And for those of you familiar with the car, what we saw that day was a car that had been designed with an ovoid or oval theme, and that oval theme was everywhere. It was in the windows. It was in the grille. It was all over the interior in terms of the instrument panel. And I remember I was there with a guy that I worked with, and as soon as we saw it, he turned to me and whispered, Jesus, this is ugly. This is really ugly. Why did they make it so ugly? And that car, that generation, was deemed to be ugly by almost everyone in the United States. Everyone thought it was ugly. Every single person thought it was ugly. I mean, people would say it looked like a catfish on wheels, or it was just, way too much oval activity. people didn't like it. People didn't like it so much that Ford ended up doing a redesign just a few years into it, and they made the sheet metal a lot more bland. Now, if you look online, you'll see people still calling it one of the ugliest cars ever made, or one of the ugliest American cars ever made. So its reputation, its infamous reputation lives on in that regard. So I am here today to say no. I have been carrying a torch for this car and the way it looks since I first saw it. Now, mind you, I'm no pie-in-the-sky idealist. I knew immediately when I looked at it. I knew immediately that it was not going to be a sales success. And I wasn't unique in this regard. Everyone thought it wasn't going to be a sales success. Everyone except the guys at Ford. So I looked at it and said, man, that's not going to work. That's it. They're done. Toyota and Honda, now it's a two-horse race. However, unlike everyone else, when the guy that I worked with said that to me, I said, I love it. And he looked at me, what? How can you love this thing? It's a monstrosity. It's terrible. It looks awful. It's just like a misshapen blob. I said, I love it. I love the way it looks. I love the way the oval theme is carried throughout the car, exterior, interior. I love the upgraded materials from the old car. I love the upgraded powertrain, the better trans. I love this car. And I told him, I said, look, I think the design really works. I think it's smooth. It's organic. I love it. My love only increased when they rolled out the wagon next. Now, I'm a sucker for wagons, and one thing you should know, or maybe you do know already, if you know any automotive writers, any automotive writers, or people who used to write about automotive topics, and a great many enthusiasts, auto enthusiasts. If you know any of those people, then you know already that almost all of them have a thing for wagons. They love wagons. And I'm no different. I love wagons. I wish, there were as many wagons on the road right now as there are SUVs and crossovers. A wagon, handles and brakes like a car. It's a great ride, and it can contain as much volume, as much stuff as a larger SUV generally. So you take a larger dimension SUV, larger than the wagon, and the wagon can fit more stuff. And have a better ride and better handling while it's doing it. But wagons are no more pretty much on the road. They have been consigned to the category of housewife's car, soccer mom. Not only just a housewife's car, but old, like 50s and 60s and 70s. That's what housewives have. I mean, even hip housewives now have a crossover, right? Or an SUV. Because, you know, that's the way they want to see themselves. Just like the men. The men want to perceive themselves as being rugged and so forth and adventurous. And they want other people to perceive them as that way as well. They don't want a wagon. Forget a wagon. But anyway, if you know people who write about cars for a living, they almost all universally love wagons. I'm no different. I fit in that cliche as well. They brought the wagon out. I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. And I actually bought one. I bought a sedan and a wagon at the time. Even though, you know, I knew that the residuals were going to go off a cliff immediately because everyone thought it was so ugly. There is no way, there's simply no way that the public image of that car is ever going to be rehabilitated. Not in my lifetime, not in probably 3 of my lifetimes. You can pick them up cheap all over the United States with lots of miles on them. Although I've seen a few low mileage examples. You can pick them up cheap, used, because people don't like the way they look. Who wants to drive something they think is ugly? No one, right? So you can pick them up cheap. They're good mechanically. They're good cars. They'll rack up a lot of miles. You know, they'll run the clock up to 150, 200 if you take care of them. But like I said, their image is not going to be rehabilitated. I am simply, you know, I am carrying a torch for something that's never going to happen. I'm carrying a torch for a car that will never be thought of in a positive way. And sometimes, you know, sometimes it works out like that. And you just got to go with your heart, right? You just got to go with your heart.